Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will learn about a very important chapter for the CPL ATPL examination, that is a calculation of the payload. Not only for the examination, this particular numerical is required for the daily operations also. Before we start with the calculation of the payload as such, we will see what constitutes the total weight of the aircraft. Going from the bottom to the top, follow my mouse, we have the basic structure of the aircraft. On that, there will be many systems which are required to fly this aircraft. Finally, we have the weight of the engine. All of them combined together is known as the manufacturer's empty weight. So in that, if we add the weight of the cabin equipment and the weight of the crews, then we get operational empty weight. In this operational empty weight, an airliner, you will have some element of catering or the newspapers or any other thing which are required to fly the aircraft. Okay, after you add that, the total weight of the aircraft becomes the dry operating weight. With this, apart from the payload and the fuel, the aircraft is ready to fly. Now, in that weight, DOW, if we add the payload, it becomes the zero fuel weight of that particular day. This zero fuel weight can go up to a maximum weight. That maximum weight is known as the maximum zero fuel weight, which is limited by the structure of the aircraft. Then in the maximum zero fuel weight, if we add the fuel reserve, we will get the landing weight. And in the landing weight, if we add the trip fuel, then we will get the takeoff weight. And if we add the fuel for the taxi, the weight of the fuel, and then we will get the taxi weight or ramp weight. So after having a look at this, we will derive some formula out of this, that the zero fuel weight will be equal to the dry operating weight plus the payload. Whereas the landing weight is dry operating weight plus the payload plus the reserve fuel weight becomes the landing weight. And in takeoff weight, we have dry operating weight plus the payload plus the fuel reserve plus the trip fuel. After having a look in the previous formula, primarily the takeoff weight is equal to dry operating weight plus the payload plus fuel reserve and the trip fuel. So fuel reserve plus the trip fuel is also known as the takeoff fuel. And what exactly is takeoff fuel? The takeoff fuel is the block fuel what you get in your flight plan or a fuel kit, or the total fuel minus the taxi fuel. So therefore, payload will be equal to the takeoff weight minus DOW plus the takeoff fuel. Kindly write this formula down, because this formula is what we are going to be using it for the calculation. So let's do one simple numerical. The question is, calculate the max payload possible if block fuel or the total fuel is 8,100 kgs, whereas the taxi fuel is 100 kgs, trip fuel is 3.5 ton, DOW is 39.5 tons, max structural takeoff weight is 70.5 tons or 70,500 kgs, max structural landing weight is 61,500 kgs, and the maximum zero fuel weight is 58,000. In order to solve the numerical, I advise you to make 4 columns like this. The first column is primarily the formula, and in this column, the first row says that it is the structural limit weight or the performance limit weight, whichever is the lesser. So the first structural limit weight is the maximum zero fuel weight. So maximum zero fuel weight is that weight of the aircraft above which only fuel weight can be added. So how much of fuel do we have? We have total of 8,100 kgs minus 100 kgs, that is 8,000 kgs will be there when we take off. So the sum of these two will become 66,000 kgs. So therefore the maximum takeoff weight, which is limited by the maximum zero fuel weight, is 66,000 kgs. Similarly, this particular column is going to be that weight which is limited by the takeoff weight. The takeoff weight can either be the maximum structural limit takeoff weight or the maximum performance limited takeoff weight. And what we have is 70,500 kgs. In the last column, what we have is the weight which is limited by the landing weight, which can be either the structural limit landing weight or the performance limited landing weight. So we have the structural limited landing weight is 61,500 kgs. Okay, in that, if we add the trip fuel, we will get the takeoff fuel. So if we add 61,500 plus 3,500, which becomes 65,000 kgs. So I need to take the list of these three takeoff weight. In this example, the list is 65,000 kgs. Any weight which is more than 65,000 kgs will violate my structural limit landing weight. Maximum takeoff weight is 65,000 kgs, and from the formula we know that the payload is equal to takeoff weight minus DOW but plus the takeoff fuel. That is, DOW is 39,500 kgs and the takeoff fuel is 8,000. So it will be 65,000 minus 47,500 kgs, which gives me 17,500 kgs. So this will be the maximum payload which you can carry for this numerical. Okay, let us do a similar calculation. Calculate the max payload possible if the block fuel or total fuel is 11,100 kgs, taxi fuel is 100 kgs, reserve fuel is 4.5 tons, DOW is 42.5 tons, max structural takeoff weight is 73,500, and the max performance limited takeoff weight is 69,000, max landing weight is 64,500, and max zero fuel weight is 61,000 kgs. Here in this question, I have highlighted some figures. That is, the first is the reserve fuel. So in order to calculate, what we need is the trip fuel. So if we have the takeoff fuel, if we subtract the reserve fuel, what we get is the trip fuel. So that is how we go about it. And the second highlighted portion, which is in green, is the maximum performance limited takeoff weight. Even though the structural limit takeoff weight can carry 73,500, okay, in today's condition, probably because of the high temperature and the low pressure, okay, probably my takeoff weight is limited by 69 tons, and the max landing weight is same, that is 64,500. Max zero fuel weight is 61,000 kgs. So we will make the similar column, three columns. Maximum zero fuel weight, which is 61 tons. In that, if we add the takeoff fuel, that is 11,100 minus taxi fuel, that is 100. So we get 11,000. So we get 72 tons or 72,000 kgs. Okay, in the takeoff weight, we will go by the lower of this structural limit weight or the performance limited takeoff weight, which is 69 tons. So maximum takeoff weight is 69 tons. The landing weight is 64,500. In that, if we add the trip fuel, which is 11,000 minus 4,500, which is 6,500, then we get 71,000 kgs. So as I said that, we will have to take the list out of the three. Okay, that is 69,000 kgs. If we take anything more than 69,000, then I will be violating onto the performance limited takeoff weight. As we know earlier that the payload is equal to the takeoff weight, which is 69,000, minus the sum of the DOW, which is 42,500, and the takeoff fuel, which is 11,000. So which becomes 69,000 minus 53,500. So therefore, the total load which I can carry is 15,500. This particular problem is limited by the maximum takeoff weight. The third numerical is calculate maximum payload possible if the block fuel is 7,200, taxi fuel is 200 kgs, trip fuel is 4.5 tons, DOW is 42.5, max performance takeoff weight is 69,000 kgs, maximum structural landing weight is 63,000 kgs, and maximum performance limited landing weight is 62,000 kgs, and the maximum zero fuel weight is 59,000 kgs. So maximum zero fuel weight, I have made the 3 columns, is 59,000. In that the takeoff fuel is 7,200 minus 200, which is 7,000. We add, becomes 66 tons. In this structural limit takeoff weight or the performance limited takeoff weight, so max performance limited takeoff weight is what is given. This is 69 tons, which I have already put here, and the maximum landing weight in this will be governed by the performance limited landing weight, which is lesser than the maximum structural limit weight, which is okay. So now it is 62 tons or 62,000. In that, if we add the trip fuel of 4.5 tons or 4,500 kgs, we get 66,500. So out of this, the list, these three, the list is 66,000. So therefore, the payload will be 66,000 kgs minus DOW of 42,500 plus the takeoff fuel, which is 7,000. So the total I get is 16,500 kg. This is the maximum takeoff weight limited by the maximum zero fuel weight. So similarly, variation of these questions may come in the examinations. So you can work out using this same principle, and you will never go wrong in the examination. If you feel that topic was worth, then kindly press subscribe and also the bell icon, and kindly share it to your friends who are also preparing for the examinations. It will be helpful to them. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.